birdie telling me that Egypt is about to release something this year that's going to rewrite history.
I mean, if this is correct, you will go down in history as one of the most important figures in archaeology. Because if you are,
Thank you, Joe.
you're welcome, but I mean, it's just fact. If what you're saying is true, and we're just recently discovering this in the 21st century, I mean, that's absolutely mind-bending. These structures and this whole area, if this turns out to be something that you don't find just at the Giza Plateau, but around other parts of Egypt, I mean, there's always been a lot of speculation as to whether or not a civilization existed in sub-Saharan Africa, an advanced civilization that in the areas that now sand. You could probably do that same sort of research there as well.
Yes, I agree with this, and we will do it. Yes.
Wow.
That area is so important, and it's got a lot of government agencies from around the world taking a look at it, including NASA. Yeah. And so because of its astrological and astronomical influence and connections, they have a vested interest in it as well, which can make it a little hard for the general population to get all the real data, okay? And so they also own access to the interior of the King's Chamber, NASA. Yeah. Yeah, so we're talking about big time, big money, big government, and why do they want access to these places, and why do they want to control the flow of information coming out of them? So it's like, will the general public ever get the true knowledge or the true information as to what that void is above the King's Chamber?
If NASA wants to get in there, what could possibly be in there that's so important?
Well, I can tell you. I mean, it's part of the machine.
A lot seems to be happening this week. Now, a lot has been happening for the past few months, especially with UFO disclosure and all the congressional hearings and the higher ups actually discussing this openly. But there's a whole lot that's been happening in places like Egypt, Sacsayhuaman, Teotihuacan, Mexico. All of these major megalithic sites that are tied to our history have some major news coming out about most of them, believe it or not. But the most important ties to not only disclosure, but to the truth as it pertains to our human origins and the truth about our reality and who we are, and just the foundational truth of everything. Not only is it all coming out right now, but it's all tied to UFO disclosure and Egypt in a major way. We've all seen the scans that have been popping up around the internet the last few months. Haven't you've seen them? I know you have. We've all been wondering if they're real or if they're just another internet hoax or if they're just some AI scam. We've all been curious to know the truth. But I'm here to tell you, my friends, they are absolutely real. Filippo Biondi, Karada Malanga, Armando May of the Coffre Project are some amazing guys, and they are onto something incredible. But they've been making the rounds on a lot of the popular shows going on right now, like American Alchemy. I know that Filippo was just on with Jesse. He also has been on a few times with the one and only Trevor Grassi, who I talk about quite often. If you need to know anything when it comes to the Egyptian side of this topic, go to his page because it's basically a college degree in all of these things, especially the ties to the mystery school and the history as it pertains to the real life, ancient, advanced societies that lived on this planet and how they pertain to Egypt. Go check out his page. He's got a wealth of knowledge that ties to all of these different things, but it also helps you to educate yourself so that you can understand what these connections are, why they mean what they mean, why they're connected. It'll help you understand all of these things in a whole new way, especially things like science and religion. It's a weird thing to be connected to this, but it's absolutely connected. It's a whole lot of different things coming out right now, as I said, disclosures that are happening. But one that's not going to be talked about, at least not as much, is all the breakthroughs in tech that have happened since the recovery of the crashed craft in Roswell. Yeah, a lot of breakthroughs have happened, reverse engineering programs, things being kind of kept in the dark about these things. But we've made all sorts of advancements in all sorts of things like GPS, fiber optic, flat screens, our internet and our cell phones. I mean, the list goes on. There's all sorts of things that have seriously changed our entire world and our entire lives that all stemmed from the Roswell crash. Now, as much as I would love to go down the UFO disclosure side of this story right now, let's stick to the history in Egypt portion because this is where the real knowledge and information and the mystical magical things that are tied to this sci-fi level disclosure, that's where they're going to come out of. Egypt ties to our real history and what's really happened, what really caused some of these wars and outbreaks of our past, and the truth about things like superhuman abilities, astral projection, remote viewing, telepathy, levitation, all sorts of fun stuff. Then you get to the sound technology, which they were incredible at. This is, in my opinion, how they built the pyramids. But again, conversation for another day. But there's all sorts of elements of sound technology and advancements in things like sound and what sound can do if kind of put in that general direction with enough intensity and amplitude and all. Yeah, I don't know the terms, but point is, if you put enough sound in a direction, you can do some fun stuff with it. And you can create anti-gravity, which is incredible, not only to say, but to hear and to think about, because that's fascinating. But the thing is, Atlantis is at the center of this entire story, and the Anunnaki. I believe personally that Atlantis was a civilization consisting of human beings and advanced beings, all living together in harmony. And I think there's been many cataclysms from our past, not just one. Unfortunately, the planet called Nibiru, in my opinion, could have been part of our solar system at one point in time. But the Anunnaki who came to Earth created us from whatever primitive race of beings existed on this planet at the time. They fashioned our DNA just so they gave us intelligence and that we could do the work for them. So that's what happened. But here's the thing. A war broke out at some point. Not really sure who it was between. Could have been us and the Anunnaki. It could have been other advanced beings and the Anunnaki, but it wasn't good. And it ended up destroying a lot, potentially even an entire planet. But the destruction that ruined Mars could potentially be part of this. But a planet was thrown out of its orbit, potentially halfway destroyed, but it still exists. And it's unfortunately taken on an elliptical orbit. And I drew this little diagram last night to kind of give you an idea of what it is I mean. And what I mean by this is the fact that our cataclysms, the great flood of the Bible, they are not a one-time event from our history. They have happened multiple times and reset our planet multiple times and will continue to happen forever. I think this planet has been going out and back in over and over, and every time it comes back and gets close, the gravity of the planet warping the space-time around it affects our planet and many of the others, causing floods, causing a reset. And this is the real secret at the end of the rainbow that they don't want you to know about. This is also why they're building bunkers all over the world. And that's also why, potentially, some people have been fighting so hard against disclosure. But that's only part of it. In my opinion, most of it is due to the technology and the secrets that want to be kept and the profits that want to be kept in regards to that technology. People want to keep their secrets. But there's also a lot more. People seem to think there's just one secret that's being kept, and that once that's admitted to, then we'll all be okay. But no, there's a lot of secrets about a lot of things. Every conspiracy you've ever heard of is not only probably true, but it's probably got a whole lot of truths tied to it. Yeah, it goes deep. It's not just about, hey, yeah, ET life is real, or hey, yeah, anti-gravity's real, or hey, yeah, that corruption happened, or yeah, that conspiracy's real. They're all real, and they're all tied together, and they're probably all related to probably one reason. I'm not sure what that reason is. My point is, I'm just saying there's probably one overall mindset or objective that led to most of the conspiracies we've heard of and all the awful things that came because of them. The secrets mostly were kept for control and for profit, right? But everything else kind of that stemmed from that one initial lie, whether intentional or not, I mean, it just kind of snowballed, right? And now we're at the point where they don't know what to admit to because they don't know how much will be admitted to by that one admission becoming public, right? And by process of elimination, how much can be figured out by that one truth. You see what I'm saying? This is what they're afraid of. They don't want to admit to one thing because they don't know how many other things that that's tied to. There's so much rigmarole of crap when it comes to this entire topic. That's why I think we need to kind of just clean house. Scrape it into the trash, start from scratch, work together, and be open to new ideas and open to suggestions. And we also need to be open and willing to have our feelings a little hurt every once in a while if we don't get our way every single time, right? We need to be open to these things because we can't sacrifice for others and then claim to be some perfect guy who wants to save the world, right? You got to be able to sacrifice some of the time as long as other people are willing to do the same. This is what we need to be willing to do, working together, accepting what we have, accepting what we know, accepting what we don't know, working together to remedy that and figure out what we don't know. Anyway, now I'm doing the rant again. ADHD's kicked in. Anyway, I jumped in here real quick just to record a quick sound bite so that I can clip it out, throw it in my other video. I do that from time to time, but every once in a while I'll jump in here to do a quick recording clip, and then I'll open up the floor to give people an opportunity to jump in. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. This time, I invited a few people to jump in real quick just in case somebody wanted to have a convo, but unfortunately this time we didn't get any bites. But that's all right. As things progress, that will change. All sorts of fun stuff is upcoming for me personally and for all of you. A whole lot of stuff is about to be announced about a whole lot of things, but keep your eyes on Egypt because it's a major part of the disclosure story. In my opinion, it's the real truth about everything. And then go study people like Trevor Grossi and the Khafre Project. Look into the Emerald Tablets of Thoth the Atlantean. You'll start to understand what that second Sphinx actually means. That's right, the dream stele in between the paws of the Sphinx depicts two sphinxes on top of a building, each with an entrance in between the two. And I think that entrance is real and either leads to the Hall of Records or the Fountain of Youth for all we know. Not sure. It's fun to speculate though. All these new connections, all these new admissions, disclosures, and knowledge that's being dropped is opening the door to all these new possibilities that we could never have imagined before now. So many things are now possible with what we now know that the future looks incredibly bright as long as we're willing and able to work together to make it happen. That's the dark part of this. Seeing everything that's now possible and all the possibilities for the bright futures that could be had, but also knowing the level that humanity has for being contradictive and combative and just kind of warlike, right? Man, that scares me because there's a possible future here that exists for us as a human being or as a human society or a civilization. Collectively, there's a possibility that a perfect, collective, prosperous future exists for us if we're willing to work together to create it and have it. But given our track record and given how evil certain human beings seem to have been, it seems like that might be a little bit harder than some optimist like me would be willing to admit. But how do we know until we try? The new, current, younger generation is a lot smarter than the previous ones, and they're more open. They're more conscientious. So let's give them a chance. They might make a better decision than most of the previous generations before them had made. So let's see what they do with this new knowledge. Then we can decide whether we want to complain about nobody doing anything or not. But we do have a chance to create the exact future that every single one of us wants. But all we have to do is accept this new knowledge, work together to find answers, and progress. It's as simple as that. No more just taking information from people we don't know just because they carry a position or a title. Everything needs to be confirmed. We need to have a library of knowledge that we know is confirmed. That way everyone knows what's known and what's not. So the goal is clear. So, just like the mystery schools of Egypt and all of the different temples that housed all this incredible knowledge, we need to have a place to put all of our knowledge so that anyone can have access to it who needs it or who wants it, and anyone can build upon it as long as we know a clear goal. And as long as we know that, yes, this part is right and this is what we know and this is what we don't, then we know exactly where the boundary is between what we know and what we don't. That way we're not just blindfolded stumbling in the dark like we have been. So, think about that. And one thing I'm going to do real quick to close it out, something I haven't done in a while, is read one more out of this cool bad boy. I've read a couple in various live chats, but as you know, I opened it up at complete random and I read one as it pertains to Star Wars and fun movie stuff. Oh, well, of course, I opened it to one I already read. Let's see what we got here. Ah, never tell me the odds. Quote by Han Solo. The Empire Strikes Back. A long time ago, there's something undeniably iconic about Han Solo. He's sarcastic, scrappy, and full of heart. And when he says, never tell me the odds, it's more than just a punchline. It's a whole way of living. In The Empire Strikes Back, Han says this line in the middle of a tense escape through an asteroid field. He doesn't want to hear how impossible the situation is. Just wants to move forward full throttle. And over the years, this quote has come to represent that daring, unshakable confidence that inspires people to act, no matter how unlikely success might seem. But it's not just about bravado. Beneath Han's quick wit is a deeper message. We're only ever limited by the thoughts we believe. And when we stop giving power to those limiting thoughts, when we stop giving power to those limiting thoughts, when we stop letting the odds dictate our choices, we open the door to everything that's possible. The focus behind the words. At its core, never tell me the odds is a declaration of freedom. from statistics, from expectations, and most of all from self-imposed limitations. It's Han's way of saying, don't box me in. And if you've spent any time exploring how our experience is shaped through the power of thought, you'll recognize something familiar in that defiance. Thoughts are powerful. They shape the reality we live in. And when we buy into those thoughts like, this probably won't work, or people like me don't get to have that, we're basically handing the reins over to those imagined odds. We're playing small. We're playing small before we've taken. Sorry, there's typos throughout this book. We're playing small before we've even taken the first step. But what if we didn't need to know the odds? What if we didn't care? Han's mindset points to something essential that possibly lives outside of limitation. Possibility lives outside of limitation, sorry. It lives in the unknown. And when we stop obsessing over what the odds say and lean into what we feel drawn to, we start living from inspiration instead of fear. Well said. From my own galaxy. Over the years, this quote has shown up for me in more ways than I can count. There have been moments when I wanted to pursue something new, or start a project, take a leap in my coaching work, or even share a vulnerable part of my journey, and my mind would immediately want to calculate the risks. What if it fails? What if no one cares? What are the chances this actually works? But here's the truth. Those odds aren't real. They're made up in the mind, often based on past experiences or someone else's story. They aren't a reflection of what's actually possible. They're just mental projections. In coaching conversations, I've seen the same thing play out. Someone shares a dream or goal, and before they've even gotten excited about it, they're already talking themselves out of it. They've run the numbers, compared themselves to others, and declared the odds too high. And sometimes all it takes is one question. What if the odds didn't matter? To shift everything. That's why I love this quote so much. It's not just a clever line, it's a mindset. And once you start living from it, things open up in unexpected ways. Well said. Again, this is The Wisdom of the Force, Lessons from a Galaxy Far Away. I found this book by accident at Goodwill. I actually bought 2 of them. But since it pertains to movies in general, I decided to buy it, throw it off in the background. I thought it would look cool, but then I started reading it, and it actually pertains exactly to the overall premise of everything I talk about and all the things we're learning about the spiritual side and consciousness. So it's really cool how things kind of unfold when you start to pay attention to how this thing works that we call life or reality. All these different things that we focus on that aren't real. It's fascinating how things happen or unfold when you put your focus or your attention into them wholeheartedly. So it was cool that I stumbled across the exact premise and a really cool idea just by accident. So thought I'd share that. But anyway, we're going to read some of these from time to time. All sorts of fun lessons. But yeah, figured I'd close it out by reading one more since I haven't read one in a while. And yeah, I will see you guys soon because my series is about to start. And I hope you all enjoy it. We're just going to have a fun time with it. And anyone who wants to join in and be a part of it, you are more than welcome. This is about collaboration and knowledge and sharing the wealth. So reach out, and I'll be seeing you guys soon. Keep your eyes on Egypt.